Akashic Tribe. Akashic Tribe. It's time for us to talk about some things that I feel called to talk about. We'll not be on here too long, but this needs to be talked about because this is happening in the NFL realm, but this does happen to a lot of people collectively that we need to talk about. It's a person named Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if you guys know Shedeur Sanders. I don't know if you guys watch football, but I am talking to the people who is aware of this realm of the NFL and aware of Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is Deion Sanders' son. Deion Sanders, back in the day, did a lot of things. He's the only player to win a World Series and to win a Super Bowl. Played baseball, has done tremendous things for the community, and he has inspired the world drastically. He has a son that won championships, and he has a son that even transferred to a different school, and he played magnificent. And what I see in this timeline that I'm seeing, that I also went through too in my own journey as a person pursuing the NFL, I see how the business of it and what it does to kids politically, socially, and mentally. This man was projected to go top 10. And with this man projected to go top 10, this man has not been drafted yet. So what is this showing us? What is they trying to do? This man, Shadur Sanders, decided not to do things at the combine. This man decided not to do things in a way where he didn't feel like he needed to show his talent. He felt like he have showed his talent in the things he have accomplished on the field. That now it's like they're trying to send a message that do what you told. Don't move from your soul. If we look at the NFL, mind you, I think when you have a dream of being an athlete, I think is amazing. But beyond the athlete, of the structure, the system, it's a lot of people can see and say that it has been a slave system. This system, when we have to go work out, we have to strip just into our drawers. Almost like things like slavery, if you guys think about this. And the people who are listening to this, I want you to critically think with me so you can see something more of what this is trying to show us all deeply. Because yes, we're talking about Shedeur Sanders, but it's not just him. This is something that we collectively grow through as Black people, but also Black men. And I do feel like they're trying to create something of bringing this man down that's not serving him. But the good thing about this is this man has a father. This man has a different level of confidence that they try to get you lower. They don't want you to have full power. And I want us to sit with and ask, why are they like this? Because when you are a football player, you have a different level of influence. When you are an athlete, you have a different level of influence that you can shift the masses. So this is a Black quarterback. This is a quarterback that is doing things that you just don't see. And you see what they're trying to do to this man deeply. They're trying to break his spirit. And I don't even like to talk this way, but this has to be talked about because this is true. This is something that goes through with a lot of athletes that are trying to pursue the NBA or the NFL. A lot of these boys, a lot of these men, they go through experience that everything that they ever wanted was being a football player. And when that doesn't happen, what do that do? that has a quantum potential to get them that they feel lost. They make them feel like they're less than. It makes them feel like they cannot get out this earthly. And when I say earthly reality, they feel like they cannot live in this earthly reality without football. Because some of these people have grew up broke, grew up in lack, and they didn't know how to get from that. So with this stuff going through with Shedeur Sanders, and he don't have to, and this is not a person who grew up in lack and stuff like that, but you see how it's an attack on his spirit. It's an attack on his confidence. It's an attack of the things that he has done that has been undeniable. This is something that I also went through too in my own experience of, I feel like I've done so much of being the football player that I knew that they wanted me to be and what I wanted to be for myself. Not doing drugs, not doing things, not having characteristic issues. And I wasn't even able to get an opportunity that I felt lost. I felt like I didn't want to do nothing in this reality. It did something to my mental. It made me question my self-worth. It made me question why I'm here on earth, because I thought everything was me being an athlete. But I want to invite people who are listening to this, and I want to invite people who are having kids who are athletes. We need to help people to see they are beyond an athlete. The more we help people to see they are beyond an athlete, this is how they can move and shift that same influence as an athlete, but being a teacher or being a speaker or just being whatever they want to be in their purpose in this earthly reality. This hurts my soul to see this man goes through this. This man was, I want you guys to understand this, he was projected to go top 10. Today is day 3 and he has not been drafted yet. These owners know Deion Sanders. You even have a polarity where Archie Manning, who had Peyton Manning, who had Eli Manning, and he told them, my kids won't play for this team or that team. And now you're seeing how Deion Sanders have probably done the same thing, and you see what they're doing to this man. And I want you guys to think, why? Why? Why are we moving like that? Why are we flowing like that? This is a man that's living in his heart. This is a man who's making music. This is a man who has a brand. This is a man who's happy. You can see it in his spirit. I met this man when I was in Colorado with my wife, and I just seen his purity. This is a good dude. And he just has an undeniable confidence. But you see how that's triggered people who are in the business of it, the ownership of it. That's a lot to handle. And when you are a quarterback, that's not just a regular quarterback, that's majority of quarterbacks are white, but this man is actually black. You see how this is doing. And it's like it's like they don't want people to lead that look like this. Why? This is even, I feel like the stuff that went through Cam Newton when he was at the last time of, like, the last few years of his time in football. When you are a indigenous man that holds power and holds influence and hold massive awakenings, it's like we want to dim that down. And I want to ask you guys, and I want you guys to think too, why? Because Shedeur Sanders being drafted top 10, what you think it does to influence of kids who wants to be top 10 that look like him? What you think it does? It makes them, it doesn't make them, it gives them the inspiration that this is possible. It gives them a different level of what I can do in this reality. I want to be like Shadur Sanders. I want to be like Deion Sanders. I want to be like Shiloh. I think his name's Shiloh Sanders. But you see what it does to people. Because quarterbacks, they are the leaders of the team. And when Shedeur Sanders being the quarterback and being a leader of the team, it's like they don't want him to lead. It's like they don't want to bring that influence. They don't want to bring that inspiration. Why? That doesn't make no sense to me. I had something that happened to me that I seen that coaches also know too. In the field of football, I don't know NBA and stuff like that, but I'm pretty sure they know too. When you are a person that has a single parent, they want you to play a certain position because they want you to use your trauma, your wounds for their money gain. But if you have a mom and dad, they want to put you in a different position because they know that you can lead. But if you have a position where you just by mom, they want you to be a D lineman. They want you to be something that's really rage, really angry. It's all strategic. They even have something that they ask coaches, they ask people, is this a person that you can really control? Or he has his own way of being? Why do they ask these types of questions? Why? Because they want souls that they can control. This is not to say that it's not people out there in the NFL, NBA not living out their dream and they not doing it big. But everyone is not a Michael Jordan. Everyone's not a Reggie Miller. And everyone is not Deion Sanders. But the fact that his dad is Deion Sanders and he's doing this to them, what do you think they're trying to get us to see? Because they're doing this for a reason. And this is political. This is a man who's not, it's not like he had characteristic issues. It's not that this man is egotistical. Some of them think he's egotistical, but I don't think that. I just think he's confident. But why do they do this? Because they want to control you. And this is not to be victim in anything. This is just calling it what it is. Because this is the cause they have effected. This man has done things for this community. Deion Sanders, what he has done in Colorado, what he has done in Jacksonville State is legendary. It is iconic. And what his kids has done has been legendary and it's been iconic. Why would you not want that person on your team? And why would you not want him to go first round? And he won championships. And he was resilient. Why? It shows you of how they want to move. It shows you how they want to invest. It shows you how they think. So what does this mean to us right now collectively? This is why it's important for us as people to create things. And when I say create things, we need to be building things. We need to be owners. We need to be builders. We need to have land. We need to be having these types of things. So athletes don't think that's everything that they need. Because I've been a person that was deep in the loop for 2 to 3 years before I even said no to stop pursuing that dream. Because I thought that I was just an athlete. I thought that that was my only value. And I didn't think that I could be anything beyond an athlete. They tell a lot of black people you can only rap, you can only play ball to make money. So when a person have a perception that they want to make a lot of money, but the only way is this, what do you do? What do you think that do to their spirit? What do you think it do to their mental? It can potentially create a mental illness. And when you are mental ill, you create dis-ease. You create sickness. You create things that you want to off yourself in this reality. You see how this is so, it's a quantum things of what they're doing. And if you guys are understanding, or you guys are feeling what I'm saying, and you guys are understanding what I'm saying, I want you to put a 1 in the chat if this is making sense. I want you guys to put a 1 in the chat if this is making sense. Because I have to speak about this because this have been part of my experience. I remember where I was at when I didn't get a call. I remember where I was at when I didn't get a call. And what that does to you. You don't want to eat. You don't want to talk to nobody. You don't want to do anything because all your life you wanted this. And this makes me emotional because I know what that feels. All my life I've done so many things. It's times where I didn't talk to my mom, my sister, and then when I was in college to be so focused. So I can create that currency, so I can create where I can bring that safety to them. And when it doesn't happen, it feels like you failed. It feels like you fucking failed. It feels like you're not of value. So you don't even want to talk to your mom in the eyes. You don't want to talk to your family in the eyes because you feel like you failed as a man. Because as a man, it is encoded in your DNA to protect and provide. Thank God Shedeur Sanders has a dad that is not in lack. Thank God that Shedeur Sanders had a dad to even help him in this process he in. What are people who don't have dads? What do you think they go through? They go through shit. And if they don't have a strong mental, they probably want to get hit. And they want to hit themselves. And when I say hit, kill themselves. I seen this. I had a friend named Adewale. When I was playing football. I had a friend named Adewale. This dude was probably the most talented dude that I've seen in my life. 6'5", big dude, athletic, had a good heart. And you know what happened? I told him something about who he is of being an African man. And he was telling me how he had an opportunity to play for the Atlanta Falcons, but something he did got him cut. And I told him something else to help him to see something bigger beyond an athlete. From me doing that, me creating that seed, I see how what he went through in an experience and what he's hearing, something's not clicking. That this man died. And I know he drove himself off the cliff. So you see what this does to athletes? You see what it do to protectors? You see what it does to our leaders? My sister just said, but you didn't fail. And you are correct. I didn't fail. It was trials and tribulations. But you see how this hurts the collective of man. This even, I feel like, delays man's purpose in this journey from the things that they go through from being an athlete. It's a lot of athletes that don't even know how to move outside of being an athlete. They don't know how to talk outside being an athlete. They don't even have skills of outside of being an athlete. So this is why I'm passionate about this subject. This is why I'm setting the intentions. I want to create more things for athletes to see themselves beyond an athlete. Create retreats, create centers, create ways of thinking that they can activate more of their intelligence. Because some of these athletes, they are genius in their body, but when it comes to their mind, they feel like they are dumb. And this is something that needs to be talked about. We got to have these uncomfortable conversations so we can be better. If we don't talk about the dark, if we don't talk about the shadow, we cannot be in our whole being. We can't be in our four being. And I want all of us to be in our fourfold being, to be in tune with our mental, our physical, our emotion, and our spiritual. I even seen when I was even playing, when I was playing football at the time, I could see how it was people that was almost say, yes, master. Yes, master. Yes, sir. I seen dudes say, yes, sir. Like, yes, master. I'm like, yo, this is like a spell. Yo, this is crazy. It's like a slave program. And I know this because I experienced this because I had a coach that used to say something that made me feel really unique, made me feel off. I had a coach that used to say, hey, big booty, Whoa, 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 whoa. Hold up. What did you just call me? You said, hey, big booty? One, I'm a heterosexual man. Two, my name is Adewale. Why are you saying, hey, big booty? Why are you even looking at my booty? So you see, this is how these people are thinking. This ain't conspiracy. This is actually real. These are actually real experience. It is man out here that had to cut their dreads. It is man out here that's told they had to cut their hair. You have men out here telling other men that they got a code switch just so they can be drafted. Are you serious? This is how we moving? That's how we flowing? You cannot tell me that's right. That is not moving in the heart. I also feel like coaches do things at times to see if they can break a player. And that is the dark side of being an athlete, that it needs to be talked about. It is also athletes out here that just smokes weed, and they smoke a lot of weed, and they're great players, but their whole journey had to stop. I do also feel like they had to learn discipline, but I also feel like, why are you just not letting a person live? Why are you not just letting a person be? It's like, shut up and play. And if you're too intelligent, we cannot have you on the media. If you're too intelligent, we really don't want you to be a leader. We want you to be on the second and the third group. And the ones that are leaders, they're being told of what they can say and what they cannot say. And if you don't have a certain status, you cannot say these things. Jaylen Brown, who's an NBA player, he can say a lot of things because he do a lot of things on that field, on that court. Kyrie Irving can say a lot of things, but you see the things that he had to go through, of the things that he has said, of him fighting himself and his spiritual self. It's like they don't want us to talk about our spiritual self. Correct. The NFL is just like the music industry. Because why did a coach feel like it was okay to call me big booty? Like, think about that. Why is that okay? Why is that in your thought process? Why that is in your thought reality? That doesn't make sense. They want you as puppets. So we have to talk about these things. And I even had a reel that went viral, and I kind of want to talk about this to kind of bring some clarity. It was a guy that I did the reel with named Adewale, and he talked about how athletes should not be being athletes. I'm not sitting here saying he was wrong or right, but what the deeper meaning of what he's saying is, it is a lot of protectors. It's a lot of athletes that are protectors, that are leaders. And I know people want to have this, well, just because a person's tall don't mean he's a leader. Nobody said that. But when you are an athlete and you see a person 6'5", moving like he a cheetah, and he got a presence like he's a god, we're not talking about normal people. We're talking about professional athletes. They are not normal people. They are professionals for a reason. So beyond the basketball, beyond the football, who are these beings? And what if they were bringing leadership to humanity? What if they were speaking from their intelligence? So I even said something of, when you are taller, you are a natural born leader. People say that's not true. Okay, if that's not true, if you have 5 men that are 5'5", and you have another man that is 6'5", who stands out just by looking at them? The person who's 6'5". That doesn't mean the people who are 5'5" are not leaders. It's saying that naturally, just from looking at this person, this dude looked like a leader. That doesn't mean where he is in his spirit. It's where he is in his human vessel of how tall he looks. And a lot of people who are tall got Anunnaki blood. A lot of people are tall, have DNA from the past, because mountains that you see today used to be trees. So it shows you that we used to be taller naturally. It shows us this. And it shows that people who are more taller, they still have that in their DNA. That doesn't mean that short people don't have good things. But short people does have to learn how to be powerful in their presence with their energy beyond their height. And that is a fact. That doesn't mean it's not a story of David and Goliath. It doesn't mean Martin Luther King was tall. It doesn't mean that it wasn't a lot of leaders that was short. But they had to lead from their presence that was tall, but it wasn't tall with their human vessel. So you guys are getting what I'm saying. You guys are flowing with what I'm saying. And this is hitting. Put a 1 in the chat. One of these people that's on this live, I'm not going to say who he is. This person, I believe, is like 5'8", 5'9". He played with me, and on a spring, on a team that was in this league called the Spring League. This dude is 5'8", 5'9", but baby, his spirit is 6'9". We would talk. We would have conversations of how we were gods. We would have conversations that we are more than this being an athlete. And I see how me talking to him having these conversations, I see how he is changing his reality. I see that we even won a championship from the things that he has done, and he was 5'8" and 5'9". So the people that I feel like that has been triggered, I'm being honest, I think it's because you have little man syndrome. And you still have some insecurities. Just because a person's tall don't mean he's confident. And just because a person's short, he is not confident. But if you are triggered, that means you got something that you still got to work on. Someone said, please watch Sinners. We need your insights on this. It's about everything you teach. Okay, I'm going to watch this. I haven't seen Sinners, so I'm going to tune into this. And I will make a video to decode this. I believe this is in theater, so I'm going to definitely tap into that. But to get back into this, I want athletes, if you are listening to this, or you know athletes, I want you to help them to see they are beyond an athlete. And a person who is tall or big, they are told that they need to be an athlete. What if they wanted to be an engineer? So you see, it's a ripple effect of what we've been called, what we've been told, of what we supposed to do. And this is what Taurus season is also showing us too. Taurus season is helping us see, are you moving from your soul value or you're moving from society value? Are you moving from the soul or you just doing what you are told? This coach, and he was an amazing coach. And this coach helped us to win a championship. He said this, and I feel like it's a positive of this, and I feel like it's a negative. The positive of it, he said this: my job as a coach is to coach and demand. Your job as a player is to play and perform. Part of me agrees with that. It is your job to perform. It is your job to play. But at the same time, you're telling me, you're subconsciously almost telling me that I have to perform. I cannot just be authentic. What you think that do to a person? What you think that does in a person relationship? If they not playing, they feel like they have to perform to show that they have to be of value. It's a ripple effect of what that does, because a lot of these coaches are these people leaders of how they're going to get on the team or they're going to be playing. So when a person don't have a dad, or they don't have the confidence and everything is relied on the coach, what do you think that do? that coach become their dad. And when that coach become their dad and they dad say you're not good enough, what you think it does to them? They're not good enough. So when it comes to their wife, when it comes to their mom, when it comes to their family, if they're not performing like an athlete, they feel like they are not good enough. We all have choices. Everyone doesn't have to make that choice. But I see it is more people making those choices than it's people not making those choices. And this is the dis-ease that I do see in the athletic realm. That is people still to this day that I know that is still pursuing a football dream, don't have money, not getting a job, and they feel like if they don't get this dream, nothing's going to happen. So just because we're talking about athletes, you see how the people who have been athletes, how that's a ripple effect of how they have to, like the person just said, they have to prove themselves in a relationship. They have to prove themselves that they are worthy. They have to prove themselves they are a man. And if we are intelligent beings, we have to see this. We have to see this because this makes man mentally ill. It put him at dis-ease. And what I want to do, and my intentions, is to free your mind. To see that you're beyond this athlete. That if you want to say, no, I'm not being an athlete, I can say, no, I'm not going to be an athlete. I'm going to do something beyond being an athlete. But I also want to say it is positive to being an athlete. The fact that I went to Utah, the fact that I played at all these places, it had brought me multi-dimensional ways of thinking, that I brought a different level of love of even white people. Of when I was in Utah and my roommates, they were all white people and they never made me feel different because I was black. So it brought me to a different level of love of everyone's not like that. But I also have another polarity where I connected with a person in college and we didn't even have physical intimacy, but we kind of did some things. And she had a boyfriend and her boyfriend found out and her boyfriend ended up telling her, if you don't tell the college that he did something to you, I'm going to tell your mom and your dad that you got with a black person. So what you think that does to a person? Dang, I can't be with someone because they white? Dang. We didn't even do anything. And I'm on scholarship. So what if my scholarship was revoked? I didn't have a mom and dad that could pay for college. So what would that do to my reality? And that was my A, my B, and my C plan. So what you think that would have done to me? That probably would have broke me. And I didn't even do anything. I was just being a normal college boy. So you see, this is a ripple effect that if you're not an athlete, you do not see. But when you have lived in that athletic realm, this is what we go through in these experiences. And when we see our value, it's like they want to, go down. You being too hot. You being too hot. You being too hot. What do you mean I'm being too hot? I'm supposed to be hot. I'm supposed to be confident. I'm supposed to be living in my natural, authentic way of being. Why you want me to be dumb? That you got coaches wanting athletes just to do just any curriculum that after they leave college, they can't even use it. This is what they go through and experience. Some of these kids, if they don't have a scholarship, they can't even go to school. Some of these kids that's on scholarship and they go to an environment like Oregon from St. Louis, they go through a culture shock. What you think that does to a person mental? If they're not mentally strong, that can give them a mental illness. What if Kyrie Irving wasn't strong? And the stuff that he came out about being Native American, of him tapping more into spirituality, him tapping into the name Hela. If he wasn't mentally strong, what do you think that could do to him? The same thing that happened to my friend Henwa. My friend Henwa drove himself off a cliff. And I know why. Because you're being told that you're more than an athlete and you are a king. And then when you don't go to the NFL and you have a daughter, you have a family, and you can't provide, what do you think that does to a person mental? And the women on this, I want y'all to hear this if y'all dating an athlete. The women on this, if you have a son that's an athlete, I need you to hear this. I need you to hear this. Because we live in a society that sometimes we don't even want to acknowledge man's emotions or what they go through. We've been told not to talk about our emotions because we cannot show that we are weak. So what you think that does to our emotional body? It keeps the energy in. So this is why men be having rage. This is why men have energy. Because they are suppressing their emotion. So you see how this is a ripple effect of the mom, the dad, the family, and home, and the earthly reality. Because I promise you, 80% of people watch the Super Bowl. 60% of people watch the World Series. 70% of people are watching the NBA championship. So these are people who are influencing people. But what if they tap into a different level of their intelligence for people and not just be hooping, not just be throwing the ball, or not being told, shut up and just play ball? You see how that keeps us stuck in the way of we thinking? This is why it's going to be an advancement of ways of how to be an athlete, how that system is going to be structured, because that system does not serve the whole collective. And I'm not telling you what I think, I'm telling you what I know. It's like an attack on man. Especially men that don't have a daddy in a home. And some of these coaches know that. And some of these coaches almost use that for money. Taurus season that talks about money. You see how they use other people's self-worth for their own gain. And yes, I am passionate about this. Yes, you guys are probably feeling my energy because that's not okay. And there has to be solutions. And I got some solutions. But this also, before the solution comes, we need to be able to have these conversations, because nobody want to have these conversations. But I'm going to have these conversations. I'm going to have these conversations because I have experienced this. I had a coach tell me, it served me on my journey. It really did. He said, if you don't get with the program, you're going to get out the program. So what that tells a person, you either do it or you don't. And if you don't, you basically die. I had a near-death experience June 26, 2015. And I did not want to go to the experience of what we was about to go do. It was 6 a.m. We just got done working out. I don't want to go ride horses. I don't want to go out in nature. I don't want to go shoot guns. I don't want to do those things. I don't do those things. But what was a voice in my head? My coach that said it all matters. So in my thought process, you know what? And I'm the only black person in my position. You know what? I gotta go. And me going, I almost died. And not just me, also my other teammates almost died. My intuition told me not to go. But I'm listening to that inner voice of that coach telling me it all matters, and I went. So you see how this does to a man's psyche, a man's psychology. It creates mental illness. Now, I also want to say this. Being an athlete, it has its pros and it has its cons. When you know how to really move into that field and you have a very good mental discipline, Being an athlete help you to make everything else in your reality beyond the athlete easier. The reason why I'm able to talk, the way I'm able to communicate, the way I understand professionalism, the way I know how to be on time has been because I'm an athlete, and I would not take those experiences away. But it's a negative energy of it that I also had to go through a process, because I had to see that part of me that wanted to be an athlete was because daddy wasn't there to take me to the fair or to change my underwear. And I wanted man validation. And I was willing to do anything and everything to have man validation, that when I became a professional athlete and I was drafted first round in the USFL, and I had a head coach named Jeff Fisher, who was a Super Bowl coach for the St. Louis Rams. And I'm from St. Louis. And he told me, you remind me just like Aaron Donald. And that did something to me, like, dang, he really see me. But I was seeing, he said something to me at the end of the year when I asked him, how can I be a better athlete? And he said something that hit me, but it took me a couple months to figure it out. He said, don't do things just for the coaches. Just do it for yourself. I had a process. I'm like, what is he talking about? I ain't doing this for y'all. I'm doing this for my family. What is he talking about? What was he saying? He basically was trying to get me to see that I see that you got a daddy wound. I see that you do these things on the corners or doing a pass rush move and doing these things, and you're trying to prove and get this validation from us. So this is why you're not starting anymore. This is why you didn't start at the end of the year. That's what he was telling me. He was giving me a ripple effect of, you need to work on your dad wound. And I wasn't even seeing that. And I was surprised that he even seen that. And I had a coach named Tony Brown said something to me in an exit meeting. And I listened to it every time I feel lost. He said, man, you are one of the best people in this whole hotel. It was over 8 teams in this hotel. He said, you are one of the best people in this hotel. But what holds you back? You're not confident. You're not confident. And he was right. I was not confident. My posture was bad. I would always walk like this because I didn't feel like no one wanted to hear me. They didn't want to hear my genius. My dad wasn't there. And it's not that I'm upset at my dad. My dad did his contract. But where a man gets his confidence is from his dad. When he going to throw the football, I didn't even know how to catch. I didn't throw the football with my dad. I didn't have those opportunities. My dad didn't tell me what to do to even become D1. It was all self-sufficient. So when you don't have that dad, that inner child is looking for that dad validation of, I'm proud of you. You got a scholarship. I didn't even have to pay for anything. And my inner child, that's what it all wanted. I just wanted to hear that my dad was proud of me. And a lot of these kids, a lot of these athletes just want their dad to say they are proud of them. And some of them don't even see this consciously. That I had to go through these experiences. I had to go through experiences even while I'm not an athlete today. I was in Vegas in my bye week, in one of the seasons I was a professional athlete, and I didn't know what this was at the time, but I know now. I went into a channel and it said, time is going with or without you. It's time for you to walk in your purpose beyond an athlete. So that's when I left being an athlete to teach, to speak, to express. That it was times where when I was still trying to train to be an athlete, I didn't have no money. I didn't know how to be in this spiritual teaching and make money. I had a friend, his name is Prince. He called me and said, yo, you remember when we used to have those conversations of what it means to be a powerful black man and how you can transform your reality. And I will talk about psilocybin. One of these people that was listening heard what I said about if you tap in to a different level of you by psilocybin, it can change your life. Because this is what I did in my experience. That my friend Prince called me, said that changed his life. Mind you, at that time, I was living in Atlanta at a therapist's house that I knew from the USFL because I didn't have the money to provide for my own house. And I was struggling with money, and I thought I was going crazy, and I thought I was in a spiritual psychosis. So hearing that helped me to see, whoa, what you doing? People are listening. What you doing? People are applying. And they are applying, and they're getting the wisdom. So it helped me to see I am beyond an athlete. When I thought my only value was being an athlete, being a tall, big African man, that all I even thought my value was my body. I didn't even like to speak. I couldn't even communicate to coaches. How you guys see how I'm communicating with you guys? I could not communicate with a coach. I could not have a dialogue conversation with a coach because I felt like my voice was not of value, or I thought I was too dumb to talk to those white coaches. That the only reason I even felt that I was intelligent is because when I was at Utah State and I was in study hall and I was learning statistics, and my teacher, my mentor told me, "You are a genius." I never thought I was a genius. So let's say it's other athletes going through that, but they don't have no one to tell them they are a genius. What you think that does to athletes? That their value is just their body. And when they come to women, their value is their body. And they're alpha. And a macho man. So you see how that keeps us in the lowest form? It don't get us to our highest form. Now, it is other people who are athletes that got to their highest form. And I want to touch on that too. Kobe Bryant, Mamba mentality. But why did he get to the Mamba mentality? Because he had a coach named Phil Jackson who was a hippie and taught them meditation. Same thing with Michael Jordan. Phil Jackson was a hippie that used to take psychedelics and used to take LSD. So even how they had their awakening was through meditation, through this coach. So this is why it's important for athletes to meditate. This is why it's important for athletes to know they are beyond an athlete. This is why it's important for athletes to know that their value is more important than what the money they're going to create from just being an athlete. Because that's what we have felt that's our only value, was all the money we're going to accumulate from just being an athlete. I'm the shit. You can't tell me shit. I can do anything. I can buy my mom a house. I can get any woman I want. These are what some men are going through. And then when that's taken away, if they don't have the mental strength or the mental tools or the spiritual tools, I am trying not to fall off the deep end. So this is what's going on collectively in the athlete's realm that I wanted to touch on, that I'm seeing that's going on with Shedeur Sanders. And I am so happy at Deion Sanders. I don't know if you'll ever see this, but I love how you move as a man, and not just as a man, a black man, for your children. It's inspiring. It's empowering. Because that's what I want to do for my son, Seven. That's what I want to do for my daughter, Moon. Giving them an unconquerable confidence. Because I can see it in Shedeur. He got an unconquerable confidence that if he don't get drafted, and when he does, he going to be all right. And he going to show. And he going to do what he needs to do. Because it's in the DNA. Same thing with his brother. But I wanted to come here on this live that we talked about this, because this has been an attack on our man. And our men are our protectors of women and our protectors of children. And if man ain't healed, we can't all heal. Because the man brings the safety in the nervous system. The man brings safety with the emotions. The man brings confidence in the woman or the daughter or the son. So this is why we have to embrace us as men of the warrior aspect. I do think it's very healthy to move your body, to know how to move in martial arts, to know how you tap into a different level of your intelligence is through the body, especially if you are a man. The more you in tune with your body, the more mental discipline you will be, the more mentally stronger you will be, the more mentally intelligent you will be. So I do think it is ideal to move the body. But if you just think you're just your body, you're in a limited way of thinking, in a limited way of living. So I want to talk about this today because it needs to be talked about. Shedeur Sanders, if you ever see this, even if you don't, this is going into the ethers. You're going to create a legacy that's going to help a lot of young men and a lot of young boys to be confident in themselves. And I love the number you have. It's 2. That's divine feminine frequency as a man, being emotionally intelligent as a man. You're bringing a different level of legacy. And when you're bringing a different level of legacy, you're going to go through some challenges. You're going to go through some challenges. But I want you to lean into these challenges, Shedeur, because you're not just helping yourself. You're not just helping your brother. You're not just helping your father. You're helping men to be unconquerable themselves. Undeniably themselves. Authentically themselves. How he's doing music. How he's being an athlete. How he was getting paid. That's living. He's being in his creative genius. He's not limited to one thing. And that's what we need to do as men and not limit ourselves of just playing ball or rapping. We need to be able to be an engineer. We need to be able to know how to code. We need to be able to be a real estate agent. We need to be able to do other things of just being an athlete. So I wanted to come on this live and talk about this because you're going to see, and some of you women who are on here that have a husband or a boyfriend or a son, I want to bring this into fruition. So some things that's not being said, you can talk to your son or talk to your man and help him to see his power beyond his body. I want to say I love you guys. I hope you guys have a fascinating Saturday. I'm having a Taurus new moon class tomorrow. If this is resonating to you, if you go to my last post and create wealth, we're going to send you a link so you can come to that. So if that resonates with you, I would love to see you guys there so you guys can transform into who you want to be. Because it's time for us to be unapologetically who we are. Peace, love, light.